What happens when one of the most beloved icons in country music walks off a live television set, leaving hosts and crew members in complete shock? The tension that unfolded during what was supposed to be a lighthearted morning show segment turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history. Before we dive into exactly what went down, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think really happened here. Jenna Bush Hager sat across from Dolly Parton in the studio. The cameras rolling. "Dolly, it is such an honor to have you here," Jenna began. "Well, thank you for having me, sweetheart," Dolly replied. They started with Dolly's imagination library. "When children have access to books, they have access to dreams," Dolly said. "Every child deserves that chance." Jenna smiled, but then glanced at her notes, and her tone shifted. "That is beautiful, Dolly. Now, there has been a lot of discussion lately about how you have chosen to present yourself over the years. You have built this persona of the rhinestone cowgirl, the big hair, the glamorous presentation. Some critics have suggested that it perpetuates certain stereotypes about women from the South." Dolly's smile tightened. "Critics will always have something to say. I have always been clear about who I am. I dress the way I dress because it makes me happy." Jenna leaned forward. "But don't you think there is a responsibility that comes with your platform? To show young women that they don't need all the glamour to be successful?" Dolly's fingers tightened around the armrest. "Sweetheart, I have spent my entire career showing people that you can be exactly who you want to be. I came from nothing and made something of myself. I did it my way. I think that is a pretty good lesson." The co-hosts shifted uncomfortably. Jenna continued, "Nobody is disputing your success, Dolly, but speaking of business, there have been some questions raised about your partnerships and endorsements, particularly regarding companies that some people feel don't align with the values you claim to represent." Dolly's jaw tightened. "What companies are you referring to exactly?" "Well, there was that partnership last year that received criticism from environmental groups. And some have pointed out that while you speak about helping children, some of your business associates have been involved in controversies." "Now hold on," Dolly said, her voice controlled but edged. "I am very careful about who I do business with. If you have specific concerns, I would appreciate you being direct rather than speaking in vague terms." Jenna pressed on. "I am just asking the questions that people want answers to. You have cultivated this image of being everyone's friend, but when you have that much influence, people expect transparency." Dolly sat up straighter. "Transparency? Honey, I have been more transparent than most people in this business. But what I will not do is sit here and be accused of being dishonest when you have not done me the courtesy of being specific about what you are actually trying to say." One of the co-hosts tried to intervene. "Ladies, maybe we should." Both ignored the interruption. "I am not accusing you of anything," Jenna said. "I am simply trying to have a real conversation instead of the typical promotional interview." Dolly's eyes flashed. "A real conversation requires respect and honesty. What you are doing feels more like an ambush. If you had concerns, you could have brought them up with my team beforehand. Instead, you are bringing them up now, on live television, in a way that does not allow for any real discussion. We are journalists, Dolly. It is our job to ask tough questions. I understand journalism just fine, sweetheart. What I don't understand is why you feel the need to frame this as some kind of gotcha moment. I came here to talk about helping children learn to read. Instead, you are trying to paint me as some kind of hypocrite without giving me a fair chance to respond." Jenna seemed flustered. "I think you are being defensive. These are reasonable questions about a public figure's business practices." Dolly leaned forward, her voice quiet but intense. "Defensive? No, honey. What I am being is direct. You want to talk about responsibility? Let us talk about the responsibility of a host to treat their guests with respect. Let us talk about whether you are using this platform to inform people or just to create controversy for ratings." Jenna's face flushed. "That is completely unfair. We booked you because we admire your work. Because from where I am sitting, it feels like you decided before I even walked in here what narrative you wanted to push." Another co-host tried to redirect. "Why don't we talk about your music?" But Dolly was not ready to let this go. Jenna tried to regain her composure, her voice taking on a more measured tone. "Dolly, I think there is a misunderstanding here. We are not trying to attack you. We are simply trying to dig deeper beyond the surface-level conversations that you usually have on these shows." Dolly tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "Dig deeper, sweetheart. If you wanted to dig deeper, you would have asked thoughtful questions about the actual work I do, about the communities I serve, about the real impact of the programs I have built. Instead, you are making vague insinuations about my character and my business without providing any actual substance." The other co-hosts exchanged glances, clearly unsure whether to jump in or let this play out. The studio had gone eerily quiet, except for the voices of the two women locked in this increasingly tensed standoff. Jenna straightened her papers, trying to reassert control. "All right, let me be more specific then. Your theme park, Dollywood, has been criticized for its labor practices. There have been complaints from former employees about wages and working conditions. How do you respond to those criticisms? Dolly's expression hardened. First of all, Dollywood employs thousands of people in an area that desperately needs good jobs. We pay competitive wages, we provide benefits, and we treat our employees with respect. Are there always going to be disgruntled former employees? Sure, that happens at every large organization. But if you had done your homework, you would know that we have won multiple awards for being one of the best employers in the region. But the complaints are there. Jenna pressed. Don't you think they deserve to be addressed? Of course, they deserve to be addressed, and they are addressed through proper channels. Not on a morning talk show where you are clearly trying to create a moment, Dolly shot back. You are not interested in the truth. You are interested in the controversy. One of the co-hosts finally found the courage to speak up. I think what Jenna is trying to say is that we want to show all sides of your story, Dolly, the good and the challenging. Dolly turned her attention to the co-host, her voice softening slightly but still firm. I appreciate that, honey. But there is a difference between showing all sides and manufacturing controversy where there is none. If Jenna wanted to have an honest conversation about the challenges of running a large business, about the complexities of trying to do good work while also being profitable, I would be more than happy to have that conversation. But that is not what is happening here. Jenna was not backing down. So, you are saying there are no legitimate criticisms of how you run your businesses? That is not what I am saying at all, Dolly replied, her patience clearly wearing thin. What I am saying is that you came into this interview with an agenda, and you are trying to force me to defend myself against accusations that you have not even properly explained. That is not journalism. That is a hit piece. The accusation landed like a bomb. Jenna's face turned red. A hit piece? Dolly, that is absolutely ridiculous. We are having a conversation. No, Dolly said firmly, you are having a conversation. I am being interrogated. There is a big difference. Another co-host tried desperately to defuse the situation. Ladies, I think we all need to take a breath here. Dolly, we truly do admire you and everything you have accomplished. Maybe we can start over and talk about some of the positive things you have coming up. But Dolly shook her head slowly. You know what? I don't think I want to do that. I think what I want to do is ask Jenna a question. Is that all right? Jenna looked surprised but nodded. Of course. Dolly leaned back in her chair, her eyes locked on Jenna. Why did you really book me for this show? Was it to have a genuine conversation, or was it to try to tear down someone who people love so that you could get attention and ratings? The question hung in the air. Jenna stammered slightly. That is not fair, Dolly. We book guests because we think our audience wants to hear from them. But what do you want your audience to hear? Dolly pressed. Do you want them to hear about the libraries I have built, the jobs I have created, the music I have made? Or do you want them to hear you trying to take me down a peg because you think I am too beloved, too successful, too something? Jenna's voice rose defensively. Nobody is trying to take you down, Dolly. We are trying to have an honest discussion about the responsibilities that come with fame and influence. Then be honest, Dolly said, her voice cutting through the tension. Be honest about what this really is. Because I have been in this business for over 50 years, and I can smell a setup from a mile away. The crew members were frozen, cameras still rolling, capturing every second of this unprecedented confrontation. This was supposed to be a feel-good segment with one of the most beloved figures in entertainment, and instead it had turned into something nobody had anticipated. Jenna tried once more to salvage the situation. Dolly, I think you are misinterpreting our intentions. We have the utmost respect for you. Respect, Dolly repeated, the word dripping with skepticism. If this is what respect looks like, I would hate to see what disrespect looks like. One of the co-hosts jumped in, her voice almost pleading. Dolly, please, we really do respect you. This has just gotten off track somehow. Can we please talk about your music? You have new songs that you are working on, right? Dolly looked at the co-host and for a moment, her expression softened slightly. Honey, I appreciate what you are trying to do, but I think we are past the point of getting this back on track. Jenna, perhaps sensing she was losing complete control of the situation, made one last attempt. Dolly, I apologize if you feel that we have been unfair. That was never our intention. We simply wanted to have a substantive conversation. Dolly stood up slowly, and the entire studio seemed to hold its breath. A substantive conversation requires good faith on both sides. I came here in good faith. I came here ready to talk about the things I care about, the things I am working on, the ways I am trying to make the world a little bit better. But you did not come here in good faith. You came here looking for a fight, and now you have got one. The co-hosts looked panicked. Dolly, please don't leave. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But Dolly was already reaching for her microphone, beginning to remove it. No, sweetheart, I think we are done here. I have been in this business long enough to know when I am being used, and I am not going to sit here and let it continue. Jenna stood up as well, her voice urgent. Dolly, we have several more segments planned. Your fans are expecting to hear from you. Dolly paused, her microphone halfway off. My fans know who I am. They don't need to watch me be disrespected on national television to understand what I stand for." The finality in her voice was unmistakable. The producers in the control room were frantically trying to figure out what to do, whether to cut to commercial, whether to try to stop Dolly from leaving. One of the co-hosts stood up quickly, her hand extended as if to physically stop Dolly. "Please, Dolly, just give us 5 minutes. We can reset this whole conversation. We can talk about whatever you want." Dolly finished removing her microphone and set it carefully on the chair. Her movements were deliberate, controlled. "I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. I have given you plenty of time already, and you have chosen to use that time to try to embarrass me. I won't give you any more." Jenna's voice took on a desperate edge. "Dolly, you are being unreasonable. We ask challenging questions of all our guests. This is what journalism looks like in the real world." Dolly turned to face Jenna directly, and the look in her eyes was something the viewers had likely never seen before. "Journalism, sweetheart. I have been interviewed by real journalists. I have sat down with people who asked me hard questions, tough questions, questions that made me think and reflect, but they did it with respect. They did it with fairness. They did it with the goal of understanding, not gotcha moments for social media clips." Jenna crossed her arms defensively. "So what you are saying is that you only want to do interviews where people throw you softball questions and tell you how wonderful you are." "That is not what I am saying, and you know it," Dolly replied, her voice steady but fierce. "What I am saying is that I expect basic professional courtesy. What I am saying is that if you are going to make accusations about my businesses or my character, you should have the decency to be specific and give me a fair chance to respond. What I am saying is that I will not be ambushed on live television by someone who is more interested in making headlines than making sense." The tension in the studio was suffocating. The other co-hosts looked like they wanted to disappear. The crew members stood frozen, unsure if they should keep filming or cut away. Jenna took a step closer to Dolly. "You are walking off this set because you cannot handle being asked real questions. That is what people are going to see." Dolly smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "No, honey, what people are going to see is a woman who knows her worth and refuses to be disrespected. What they are going to see is someone who will not play games just because you want to create a viral moment. And honestly, I think my fans will understand that better than you seem to." One of the co-hosts made another desperate attempt. "Dolly, we have viewers at home who are so excited to see you today. Can you at least stay and say hello to them? Take some calls, maybe." Dolly's expression softened slightly when she looked at the co-host. "I love my fans. I truly do, and I am sorry that they are not getting the interview they were hoping for. But sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even when it is uncomfortable. I hope they understand that." Jenna was not done. "This is incredibly unprofessional. Dolly, we had an agreement. You committed to being here for the full hour, and you committed to conducting a fair interview," Dolly shot back. "Seems like we both broke our commitments. The difference is, I am being honest about why I am leaving." "What is that supposed to mean?" Jenna demanded. "It means that you can spin this however you want to your audience," Dolly said, picking up her bag. "You can say I was difficult, you can say I was defensive, you can say whatever makes you feel better about what happened here. But we both know the truth. You came in here looking to take down Dolly Parton, and instead you just showed everyone watching exactly what kind of interviewer you are." The words hit like a slap. Jenna's face was bright red now. Whether from anger or embarrassment was hard to tell. "You don't get to come on our show and insult us, Dolly." "I am not insulting you," Dolly replied calmly. "I am being honest with you. There is a difference, although I understand why you might not recognize it." Another co-host stood up, her voice shaking slightly. "Dolly, please, this has gotten so out of hand. Nobody wanted this to happen. Can we please just take a commercial break and talk privately for a moment?" Dolly shook her head. "There is nothing to talk about privately that changes what happened publicly. You all sat here and watched Jenna come after me with vague accusations and loaded questions, and none of you stopped it until it was too late. I am not angry at you specifically, but I am not going to pretend this did not happen." Jenna threw her hands up. "Fine, leave then. Walk off the set. Show everyone how you react when someone does not treat you like you are perfect." "I have never claimed to be perfect," Dolly said, her voice rising for the first time. "I have talked openly about my mistakes, my struggles, my failures. But I have also earned the right to be treated with basic respect, and that is something you clearly cannot provide." The producers were yelling into the co-hosts' earpieces, trying to give them direction, trying to figure out how to salvage this disaster. But it was clear that there was no salvaging it. Dolly Parton was leaving, and nothing was going to stop her. One of the co-hosts made one final plea. "Dolly, we are live. Millions of people are watching this right now. Please do not leave like this." Dolly paused at the edge of the set and turned back to face the cameras. For a moment, she seemed to be considering something. Then she spoke directly to the viewers at home. "I want to apologize to anyone who tuned in today, expecting to hear about the work I do and the things I care about. I came here excited to share those things with you. Unfortunately, that is not the interview I got. I hope you understand why I cannot stay and participate in something that feels more like an attack than a conversation." She looked at each of the co-hosts, then back at Jenna. "I wish you all the best. I truly do, but I also hope that maybe this will make you think about how you treat your guests in the future." Jenna started to respond, her mouth opening, but Dolly held up a hand. "I am done. Jenna, there is nothing more to say." And with that, Dolly Parton walked off the set of Today with Jenna and Friends, leaving behind stunned co-hosts, a frantic crew, and millions of viewers who had just witnessed something completely unprecedented. The cameras kept rolling, capturing the shocked faces of the hosts as they tried to figure out what to do next. Jenna stood there for a moment, her face a mixture of anger and disbelief. The other co-hosts looked at each other helplessly. Finally, one of them turned to the camera with a forced smile. "Well, we are going to take a quick break. We will be right back." But everyone knew that nothing would be the same when they came back. Dolly Parton had just shut down an interview on live television, and the fallout was only beginning. The image of Dolly walking away, her head held high, her dignity intact, despite the chaos she was leaving behind, would become one of the most talked about moments in daytime television history. She had drawn a line in the sand, refused to cross it, and walked away when someone tried to push her over it. That moment would spark countless conversations about how celebrities are treated in interviews, about the difference between tough journalism and ambush tactics, about respect and professionalism and knowing when to stand up for yourself. So what do you think? Was Dolly right to walk off the set, or should she have stayed and finished the interview? Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And if you have not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we have got plenty more stories like this coming your way.